Mic on, okay. I'll pass it around whenever we're ready. Okay, so we have this on so that the recording can work. You see, I've been tinkering this week. Suggestion came up last week that sitting in a circle could be community building, and I'm not sure. So I said, okay, well, let's try it. I'm not sure about Sunday, but certainly for today. We're singing a song on Sunday about a circle, so maybe, I don't know. But that's one of the things I would like your opinion on this evening. Okay? So we're going to do little group discussions, and then your group will report. And one of the things I'd like you to report on is the opinions about the circle for Sunday. But we're going to begin with the prayer. Okay? We'll begin by acknowledging we've come into a building dedicated to spiritual growth, to infinite love and wisdom. We've come into a community committed to living and teaching and living spiritual practices. We've come into a spiritual energy that has been infused into the walls, is throughout this entire building and this entire community, and it's within us. And so we stop and acknowledge that the presence of infinite love and wisdom surrounds us and fills us to the deepest part of our being. So we come together tonight to discuss our community. We will have personal opinions, but we also have access to creative ideas. Infinite love and wisdom can speak through us. And so let's open our minds, open our hearts, open our souls to goodness, to the goodness and thriving life of Unity of Bloomington. Let's just take a moment and settle in here in openness and receptivity to the living Spirit of truth. So we are expectant. We are grateful. And we are at peace. So it is. Amen. 4, 8, 12. Okay, good. I made enough copies. Can't hear you. Okay, I have one for her too. Just pass them. So I took the notes from last week's meeting where we had a bunch of suggestions about community and a few things about inspiration. So those of you that were not here last Thursday, I reported some research that people's response to why don't they go to church? Well, I don't go to church anymore. Thank you. Because they get it online. They get it watching. Well, there's a difference between watching and participating. And the two main things that people have said that they would like to get from church, from going to a community on Sunday mornings, is inspiration or some sort of experience and community. And so we're talking about inspiration and community. A couple of the suggestions about community are already being done. Down near the bottom, it said seating in the round. Well, we're trying it. As we go through this, there's a lot of really good ideas here, some of which I can do, some of which staff can do. I don't think there's anything here for the board to do. They have plenty of things to do already. Virtually all of these things require involvement from people in the community. It requires someone to champion it. Okay, so you might look and see, is there anything on this that you might be willing to step into? Okay. One of the things that I want to discuss when we break into groups is, what are the three most important things on this list, in your opinion? Or four, or two. So we'll discuss that in small groups and then report it back. Yes?
I know I couldn't come last time, but the reason I couldn't come last time is because I was with my grandchildren and I had to babysit. Is there any possibility of us adding childcare to this list? Because I feel like that's like a big barrier to half the people who couldn't come into our, or a large percentage of people who could come to our church families and such. We have no childcare.
I didn't really understand what your question is.
I wondered, because I came tonight, I wanted to come last time, I wasn't here, so I didn't get it added to this list, and I've been a member of this church for 7 years, and I have felt for a long time that we really need to provide childcare so that we could serve a lot more people and reach out to a lot more people.
Okay, childcare.
But
Yeah.
if you're part of a family, you know, to be part of this community, you have to like make a decision whether who gets to come to church or whatnot at this point. I mean, we haven't always been like that, but currently that's.
Where'd my pen go? Okay. We can certainly put childcare on the list here. We have the facility for it downstairs. So, be open to offering to help on any of these. Okay, so there's my pen. On the back, inspiration. Some of these things I've added. They didn't all come up last week. I added some things on my own. But one thing that Unity has that inspires people is what we teach, the principles that we believe in. Now, you can get that. You can get that by watching a video. But I think that you learn, well, I think being in community, you get it a little bit more. So I wanted to start off acknowledging the inspiration of our teachings, the principles and the practices that we teach. Okay, I would like your opinion about why do you have service leaders? Maybe we can talk about that now, but I can understand that when you don't have a minister. But has there been some principle there? Has there been some discussion about having service leaders in addition to the professional paid presenters? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Okay, the service leaders, I think it just gives everyone an opportunity to be of service. I mean, it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility. And I mean, it's a good responsibility because you really get to understand how the service runs, how you do it, what's there. So it's a real conscious raising position.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I think every church community I've been a part of has had lay leadership and has developed lay leadership by having some pulpit responsibilities, or in other denominations it's scripture reading. It's it didn't strike me as odd when we came to Unity that there were lay service leaders as part of the Sunday service.
Okay, so leadership development, yeah.
For me, with my 20-some years in Unity here in Bloomington, I think being a service leader was one of my first involvements with Unity, period.
Wow.
And they asked me to be a service leader, and here I am, 20-some years later. Yeah, so for me, back in the day, we had more than one minister, and having a kind of controlled, scripted kind of service leader allowed us to create kind of a consistent message that regardless who was talking up at the front of the pulpit, whether it was David LeBeau or whoever, it was kind of a consistent presentation of the information, and I think that allowed people to be comfortable with that, in addition to allowing to have a number of opportunities for people who were comfortable getting up in front and in leading the service. And for me, that was why we had service leaders.
So this is something that you've been doing for quite a while. It's a tradition in this community. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. If it was something that you did when you were in between ministers, but it's been a tradition here. Okay, I got it.
I have one more.
I've been part of communities where there's a cult of personality, and the minister, it's minister-centric.
Yep.
And everything revolves around the minister.
Yep.
And I think having involved and visible lay leadership is a weekly reminder that this is our church.
Yep.
And we're more than a single minister. It's our orbit does not revolve around a minister. It revolves around principles and the community we create together.
So it's community-centric, which is a step up from minister-centric. But mission-centric is a step up from that. Okay. All right, so that helps me, okay, in what I'm doing on Sunday. So this Sunday I'm talking about spiritual experience, the shepherds seeing angels and all. And so one of the things on the list here is testimonials by members. Okay, part of the community building was get to know the people, people's stories. I would much rather have people telling their story than reading the daily word. Okay, the daily word is written for one person to read to themselves. It is not written to be presented to a group. Okay, Patty last week revised the daily word for us. It was rather than for me, the way it's written. So, but anyway, so I just thought I'd put it out there. Have any of you had a spiritual experience that made a difference in your life? Now, every minister has had that, their call to service, call to ministry. But I think many people have spiritual experiences. But they're usually unusual, and it's hard to fit it into the box that we have in our minds about this is what's real and what isn't, and what's true and what isn't. So a lot of times we don't talk about it, and we don't even remember it. So I'm wondering if anybody has had a spiritual experience you would be willing to talk about on Sunday morning for 3 minutes or so. Think about it. Let me know. Okay? So, all right. That's discussed.
Can I ask, so we're not thinking about, is it decided that we're not going to have a daily word anymore? Because I really like the daily word, and I feel like it sets the tone of we're all sort of like meditating on the same thing, or setting the intention for the same thing, and there usually is a moment of meditation, and it's simple. It does seem to all help us set our intention. I've never heard anybody, whereas for everyone to like suddenly be coming up with a spiritual experience that they want to share, that now we're all going to somehow grow or better. I mean, as part of the service, it's not that like one Sunday, it isn't the most wonderful thing in the world to hear like someone's spiritual experience, but as a regular part of the service, it seems important.
Most Unity churches do not read the daily word. It's kind of dull to have somebody read it to you the way it's written. Okay? So it can be revised into us. A lot of times it can be shortened some so that the inspirational message comes through rather than reading the scripture lesson. The scripture is da-da-da-da. Okay, so it has to be presented so that it's inspirational rather than just read rotely. Okay, so.
I personally am not ready to give up the daily word in our service.
Well, can't hear you, Patty.
I am not ready to give up the daily word in our service, because a lot of people don't.
Flip the switch.
A lot of people don't read the daily word on a daily basis. And a lot of people don't find their message for the service or the message other than the words in the daily word. I can see shortening it. I can see changing it to we, us, whatever we need to do. And I can see studying it before we present it as service leaders. But those are two things that I'm just not ready to give up, because it was in listening to the daily word that I found myself. And when I first came to this church, my spiritual experience was shared with Debbie Molden, and she shared the daily word with me over at her sister's house quite a bit. And she had the light of Christ in her, and I wanted that light. And I think the daily word is one of the things that helps me hone into that light, and I'm just not ready to give it up.
Okay, so has the daily word been part of the Sunday service for a long time here? It has? Okay, all right. So in your transition, I'm here to question everything and to hold everything up to you and say, you want to do this? Does this work? Do you still like this? And that's something that I noticed right away. Okay,
I
go.
feel like there's almost no way that it doesn't speak to you. There's an opportunity for someone to present their spiritual experience and for you to be not uninspired and feel turned off maybe, or, but it automatically, and whatever, it's so simple and basic that on whatever level, I don't think anyone's ever felt like offended or, oh, that wasn't meaningful or anything. Again, I think it just is a way for us to all set our intention, and I think it's very beautiful. I'm not ready.
How many people think it's important that the daily word be read in the Sunday services? Okay. That's a minority here.
I wouldn't mind a minority.
Yeah. How many want the daily word read? Raise your hand if for the daily word. 5. Okay, 6. Yeah. So.
It's not a for or against that's happening here with the
Well, I wanted to know how many people have a strong.
You said that, so I was just,
Yeah.
I thought I counted a majority, but that's all.
I counted 6. Okay, so, yes, Joe.
Yeah, one thing that's not mentioned here, and I'll get to the daily word a little, but one of the things that's not mentioned in the list is groups that meet before service, or
That's on the bottom of it's on the inspiration side.
okay.
Extra Sunday events.
Okay. One of the things that, to me, that held me to staying with Unity for all these years, because there's been really lows for whatever reason. And that group, what's beautiful about that, it really builds community. We'll take a spiritual book and we'll start reading, and then in the reading, somebody could stop or want to stop and ask a question. And what happens is that there's this dialogue that happens, and I get to know more about that person.
Yes. So it not only is inspirational, but it builds community.
It does.
Okay, and so we could have a similar group, that group, or another group meeting at the same time, or groups, discussion groups following the service.
And I just want to say this, one other thing. Almost, I would say 8 times out of 10, when we'd come up from the group to service, whatever is being said on that service, we just talked about. And it was just kind of an amazing synchronicity. And if that's not a spiritual connection, I don't know what is.
Are you talking about a book study, or are you talking about daily
No, I'm talking about book study, but study. It's more of a vehicle to really get to know everybody in the group and share the most intimate feelings or thinking about how I see this or how I live this. And you can't have it up here during a service, but you can have it down there because it's more intimate. And it would be nice if we could have it. I mean, I like when we did, one time for a while, we had I don't know if it was in place of the Daily Word, but we would stand up if we wanted to make an announcement. And the announcement could be a simple thing about something happening or something very personal. And that was so beautiful because then it's like being down there. You got to know that person instead of just a body that you said hi to or,
Okay, let me address that. It's number 2 on the community list.
Lisa, he's talking about Wildwood Park.
Boy, there's my voice. About the daily word, I am not opposed to it. It's not as meaningful to me because I haven't been in Unity that long. But I do think if we don't have that, it should be replaced with some kind of inspirational, short, meaningful. I know I was in Al-Anon for years, and reading from a little book that they have is like the Daily Word called One Day at a Time, or they have another one, I can't remember the name, but reading that in the meetings, that day in the meetings, was very inspirational because it brought up, 9 times out of 10, it touched someone, whether or not all of the same, but it touched me a lot. That's something that I was going through that day or that week.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
what if we had a daily word and allow people to stand up to share what it meant to them, so we connect the two. So it becomes more personal. It just doesn't become carte blanche.
Okay, so you can see, Joe, how it's going here with a group of, 16 or so? Okay? If you had 40 people here, Joni mentioned minister-centric churches. A lot of churches are minister-centric. And a charismatic minister can build up the following, and it's, whenever that minister's gone, boom. And so you want to have a strong community that's not dependent upon one person on the platform. Okay? Community-centric churches are saying, look at us. This is us. This is our family. They usually get about 40 people. That limits the size of the growth. I've been to a number of those, different denominations where people, they'll have in the bulletin, Martha's in the hospital this week. People stand up and say, my son just got accepted into medical school, or my son just had a motorcycle accident, or something like that. It's very rich for that community, but it doesn't get very big. Okay? And so you don't have any, Unity of Bloomington has no competition in town. This is the only New Thought, kind of New Agey community. You've got Tibetans, Buddhists, you've got Unitarians, but you don't have a CSL church here or other, some, New Age center. Maybe there is, but nothing really to compete here. So the possibility for this community is 2 large services on Sunday.
We used to have that.
Well, that's possible here.
Well, we have to get,
You've had success in the past. So,
uh-oh. We have had that in the past, and we were open to challenges and changes, and that's what Reverend Nat is asking us, is to be open to trying new things out and growing. So creation is messy. It comes from the void into the chaos and up, and it makes everybody uncomfortable, and then it finds its organization. It finds its order in there until it's ready to recede again.
and
And
chaos has happened.
And
The
chaos has
disorder is here.
happened.
The
Yes.
disorder is here.
Yes.
And so it's like, what do you want to build out of this?
yes, so we're asking you, please be open. Please be open to being a we and an us again, a we and an us. In whatever way, please entertain some notions of that. And we do want to hear your objections, absolutely, so that we can work with them and hear them and come to some sort of cooperation and collaboration in our process.
So what I've gotten so far is it's important to have community participation in the Sunday service. Even if it's not a charismatic, inspirational person, the fact that it's open, that there's room for people to come up onto the platform is important. That's an important statement about community. Okay? What do they do? That's another thing. So they read the daily word, maybe not every Sunday, but once in a while at least. You know, in the welcome that I did a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was when Patty was there, you know, I wrote, "Welcome to Unity of Bloomington." I said, "Welcome to unity," and the reading of the daily word was the welcome to the unity movement. Okay? So it does fit. So I'll be writing up some notes for whatever minister you might consider hiring as your permanent minister, full-time settled minister, whatever you want to call them, because a lot of times a new minister comes in and he's trying to figure out what's going on, what's happened here in the past, and so I'm trying to collect all of that so I can give that to them. So they'll know about people participating. Is a long tradition here. You know, when I was in ministerial school, a very influential teacher said, he was very opinionated, "Amateurs do not belong on the platform. Professionals do." And it's like, and we were like, oh, okay. You know, so that was his opinion, and he had the position to be able to hit us over the head with it. Yeah.
I have a story about the daily word. It always bothered me that I read the daily word every morning, and when I'd come to church, they had selected a different daily word to read, and that always bothered me.
Really? It was a different daily word? You would pick some daily word that would go with a theme. Ah, okay. So what I've done is I work out my themes a month or two in advance and then recruit people to find a little reading or story or something about the theme.
I think one thing that I've been involved in a lot of different types of churches, and we have to decide what we want to show with professionals and be entertained, Or do we want that one-on-one connection that brings us into unity? That we are really connected physically by quantum physics. We're connected to each other. I was in Denver for over 20 years. There's some mega churches out there that are so popular. People do not miss the service because it is I'm saying it's a show. Rock bands and lights and,
So,
you know,
Mile High?
what I'm saying is, I have been to those churches and I feel like I feel more alone in those churches than I do in a circle this size.
Those mega churches that are very production oriented with the rock bands and everything, they're not doing well.
They were. They
Oh, they were.
for a while, but
Yeah.
another point I'd like to make too is, since COVID and the future of church or the future of work or the future of anything in our society has changed drastically permanently. It's not going back to the way it was.
Oh,
In other
it's
words,
not.
at work, the next generation coming up will not tolerate, you will be here at 8 a.m., you will not be a minute late. They will go find other work. In other words, we're fighting with it on the work setting too, where people are, since COVID, they don't want to come in every day. They want to be flexible, they want to be virtual. If this church is going to grow, we have to meet people where they are. And they're at home, they don't want to come back to church, but that doesn't mean that...
They will come back to church if they can have a sense of community and if they can find some inspiration in coming that they can't get online.
Some will,
Yeah.
but we also have to have ministries and a way to reach people that will never step foot in the door. Small groups, Zoom meetings, something to get people to reach where they are, because society has changed now.
It is changing. It is changing. And this focus that, for inspiration and community is about bringing people in the building. So that's been our topic. And you certainly need to build the virtual church as well. Okay? So that's a different focus. And you've invested a lot of money in that. And you're doing a fairly good job. They're working out the details. It's pretty good job. Yeah. Much better than many churches. Okay? You could hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say that my sister in Knightsville watches our church weekly. My sister in Fishers watches it every few weeks. So we've got some other participation
Mm-hmm.
outside of this community. Plus, we love the online because it's easier for us, to be quite honest.
Yes.
We're physically challenged, and it is not easy always to get here.
And the online works because we have transformational principles that we teach. We're not doing the same message that churches have been doing for 1,000 years, you know? We have some exciting transformational principles and practices to teach. And so we need to keep that up and then to give people an opportunity to discuss it in Zoom groups or small groups. Yes.
Yeah. I just would like to say something about the word church. I find it hard. It's one of those harder words for me to digest
Yeah.
because of past wounds.
Yep.
I came here because it was a spiritual center.
Ah.
My life is about being a spiritual person. I'm an artist, and I look at creating art as a spiritual experience. And what I did for the last 20-some years, I feel very proud of because I created community with the art that I did. And it's all about the experience. The artwork itself is just kind of a reflection of what took place. The real art was the interaction of people and what they got from being there and doing what they did by participating.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of ways you can participate. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Joe. So what do you think about the circle? You think it's relevant for Sunday mornings?
I personally like it in a group like this, but for Sunday mornings, I like the focus up front. But that's just my opinion. I'm
Mhm.
open.
What about a half
A horseshoe?
Yeah.
That would be fine. That would be fine.
So you're right, no, I guess.
I was going to
Oh, you were gonna walk.
move some of these chairs for Sunday morning, make it more of a horseshoe.
I just want to say, it becomes so linear
Yep.
when you have this. This is more real.
This is community focused. That's more message focused or, worship focused.
I was just thinking, I'm going to speak loud. I was just thinking of sitting here and having the choir behind us. And what a beautiful experience having
Yeah.
music come from behind you and the presence of people behind you. It's so beautiful.
For some of us who like to slide out early, this is not the best situation.
So you need to be in the back row of the circle. Yeah.
Nobody's
Yep.
judging.
Yep. And some people want to look at their phones or nod off, and that's more difficult in a circle.
How does the circle translate for our virtual folks? I mean, the microphone will, you'll be mic'd.
Yeah.
So that's not, hearing is not an issue, but what will people see?
And for the people who sing, like Dan and Patty, and I don't know who else sings here, but how would you feel, Melanie, Terry, how would you feel if you were up there? And I mean, right now there's 16 of us, and hopefully, there could be 60 of us for church. Seems like a lot of people would have their back to the.
Well, I think that's why we have to do a horseshoe type.
But I mean,
Because we're going to have to see the words of the song that we're singing along.
Yeah. Well, it would.
I think that my husband had a problem with the last song that we sing all the time because he didn't know the words, but I knew the words. But he didn't know the words, and so he was always turning around in the circle to look at the screen to get the words. And at one time I asked Merity, we were talking about putting the words up there for the people that were on that side of the circle so that they could see the words up there
Yeah.
and then the words over there. And I just think that it's important
So-
to accommodate different type of people.
Good. Can I get a kind of response? Who thinks having a circle is worthwhile doing?
Are you talking about just a group, just talking about Sunday?
Talking about on Sunday morning having arrangements where you can see each other. So raise your hand if you like the circle. So, okay, it's about half. Okay, so maybe we can have a half a circle. All right, and
if you had a horseshoe, then you could have like a row, like a normal row behind it.
yes,
And that could just be.
yeah, for people that want to sneak out early. Yeah.
What I really like problems because problems really bring up creative solutions.
Yep.
So when you say you can't, you have to see it. I'm saying I could see it over here. You could see it over here. We could solve that. It doesn't have to be over there. If we're going this way, we can have the words there by having projection if we need to
Yeah.
or something.
The thing is, the building is constructed to be facing that way. Okay, so yeah, well, but it still has a platform and, you know, so, but I don't know if you got rid of the pews so that you had flexibility with seating. And so having exactly the same seating every week, kind of, you're not taking advantage of the opportunities for something new.
When we had service over at Walton Arts Center, for those who remember, what was so cool about that is that every week we came, there was a new setup. And it was always different because it was the art center and it was the theater. They had a theater where we would have service. So they always had a different stage setting. So it was just great.
Ah. Yeah, artists and their Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Look at this list of communities. What's most important on there? Or what are the 1 or 2 or 3 things that are most important, you think? So, could you start and pass the microphone around? Just give 1 or 2 or 3. And I'll tally.
I like to bring your friend Sunday.
Okay.
The thing that's most important to me is not on here, and that's the special music, or just music in general. I love that. That's what touches my heart.
That's on the inspiration side. So this is about community building, making connections between people and building relationships. We'll get to that side next.
Probably off of this list, I think classes and workshops will bring new people in.
Okay.
Utilize the parking lot for gatherings, games, visibility to outer community.
So,
I think classes and workshops.
I think greeting each other during service and,
well, we're doing that one, Jack.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's I'm just saying
okay,
that's
all
one
right.
that I think is
So,
quite
give me
important.
another one.
Okay, I'll give you another one. Well, there's people's stories, a way to get to know
Okay.
them and connect with people.
All right.
Oh, intentional welcome to new people. I think that's very important.
Yeah, okay.
I think splitting the greeters and the ushers would get more people involved. Splitting the greeters and the ushers would get more people involved if we ask someone. Well, the greeters are the people that are at the door when you come in, and we usually are the ones that usher, collect the offering.
Yep.
And I think if you would give that to somebody, just ask somebody to do that, it would get them more familiar with other
Okay.
people, and it
We're
wouldn't put them on the
we've
spot.
started doing that. Thank you.
Well, everyone knows I think we need childcare because I think, again, there's so many people that just can't come here. Anybody with children. It's really, really hard for me, as you can tell, to be part of a church that isn't at this time welcoming families. So that is big. But I also think other outreach things, I think there's some listed on here. I'm sorry, I was going to pick one that was already on here, so I didn't just toot my own idea. But when I first came here, one thing I remember doing with Lauren Lane and Dennis is the farmer's market. And people walked up to it. I mean, there's different farmers markets and all kinds of community things, but the community presence where we talked about unity, different people. And I think people
it would be a way to have people find, because like you said, there is no competition, and there's such a big New Age type spiritual community going on in Bloomington, and I talk to people all the time that don't know anything about Unity. I mean, and I'm a big I worked in at IU nursery school, so when I came to Bloomington, those are the only people I knew, is families and what they were doing family-wise. My neighborhood's the same way. Yeah. But there's so many people I would want to or would love to encourage to come here, but I absolutely, I mean, it's almost like, oh no, I'm sorry, our church is like a different thing. It's for older people or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
good.
Community presence.
Thank you.
I've liked a lot of these things, but I really have enjoyed the small circles that we have developed over time, either home or restaurants or here, whatever, just to kind of get to know 10 people instead of 40 or 50 people at one time, and you get to know people a lot better. And I know I've developed some really strong friendships from those small circles.
Good.
I agree with that, but have a circle after the service to discuss message, or a circle.
Yeah.
Well, I'm torn. It's kind of the same. I really like classes and workshops, and I really like the home book group. So I like the small group learning situation. I love that.
What was the first thing you said, Jonna?
Classes and workshops.
Classes and workshops, okay.
But I really like the small.
Mm-hmm.
Social action projects.
Social action?
Classes and workshops.
I would like name tags. I think that's helpful. And also, in the past, I really enjoyed the art projects that we've done in place here. Found that to be very community building.
Andy, I didn't understand that. Would you repeat that, please?
The name tags,
but
but also art projects for holidays or other.
Gotcha.
We've done them for themes and stuff like that in the past.
Uh-huh.
I was going to be the first one to say name tags.
Okay.
Andy, it's been a long time since most of you have been new in this setting. Mm-hmm. And even after occasionally coming for several years, I probably could name fewer than half of you here. And so name tags help me a lot.
Yes.
Great. And even if you knew somebody's name last week, you might not know.
Well, I'm going to go with classes and workshops, and name tags are fabulous too. And also the food, the times we've had food. Well, it's really been a way to get to know people better in a very relaxed kind of setting.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, I think classes and workshops. What a shock. And actually, I mean, classes like on Christ consciousness, A Course in Miracles, another one that comes to mind, I would love to lead even or be a part of a class on the book of Revelations. I mean, I just think there's so many ways to look at Scripture in a mystical, metaphysical way, and to really encourage just that personal spiritual growth. And at the same time, you're next to people that are helping you to grow. So
thank you.
that, I think, is number one.
Did you see my ears stand up when she said the word lead?
Can I address just one thing?
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for the entire board because almost the entire board's here. But I want to address the childcare thing. And it is not our intention to not offer childcare and to not have a Sunday program. Yeah.
I'm not blaming it on the board.
Well, I know, but
You're just people who are doing a lot of work, and you're doing that work. I'm just saying, since we're addressing what is bringing people into church or not bringing into church.
Right.
And like, just me personally,
I'm done.
I never once meant that as something against the board.
No, no. I that's something,
I'm sorry.
It,
No, I really want to know what it was.
you know, one of the,
I want to be clear that childcare is not something that's just like being dismissed. We're trying to put horses before cars. There's things that we're putting into place in order to launch a robust and healthy youth program.
Great.
So that's
good.
that's all.
People look for a church at two different times in their lives. When they have kids, and they want the spiritual principles taught to their kids. And the other time is in midlife when their family and friends start dying and you start asking big, important questions. So, you know, young adults and older adults. The challenge is a youth program's expensive for space, for time, you have to pay a coordinator, you have to recruit volunteers, and the people that come don't donate very much. Young families don't have much disposable income to donate. And so it brings people in the door, it creates some energy, and it's important in growth. So, a small church starts off by offering nursery school and having kids, school-age kids in the service, and then can build up from there. All right. Do you have I didn't hear an alarm go off. Oh, okay. All right.
This is what it would look like. You can sneak off during the circle. No, I know, but
All right. Bye. You said music. Okay, let's go on to the inspirational side. So, what are the most important principles? Prosperity, healing, guidance. Those are the main categories of prayers to silent unity. So, classes and workshops. Do you think a midweek service, somebody told me you had a drum circle here that was pretty successful and brought in people that didn't attend here. Unity is positioned to be able to offer a variety of inspirational things. Let's take meditation. If you go to the Buddhist center, you'll learn their meditation technique. If you go to a yoga center, you'll get their meditation technique. You come to Unity, you can't tell what meditation technique you're going to get because there are so many different ones that are practiced. We can offer a variety of different techniques so that people can find something that works here. So we're positioned to really be an important meditation center. And kirtan, chanting. Okay, you know, you want to you go to a yoga center and you do chanting. But if we offer some inspirational, transformational kind of program midweek, we can attract younger seekers. Okay, so that could be successful. The classes and workshops are primarily for people that are already attending. Okay, classes and workshops, well, some workshops might bring in outside people, but generally they're for the growth of the people that are attending. Yeah.
We offered the 4T program.
Yep.
And it was a great program because.
Yeah. Well, prosperity is. Stratton Smith was a classmate of mine. Okay, so I know him very well, or knew him. He's passed on. Prosperity is important to teach. Okay, yeah. So that prosperity, healing, healthy, vitality, health is what Unity started with, healing prayer, okay? And then guidance and co-creation with the divine is, yeah.
So from this list, midweek events, a lot of it is, could be not codependent, interdependent on this idea of getting into a meditative state, because drum circles are that way, and music is that way,
Yep.
and chanting is that way. So I see this as being an opportunity to show the community, to attract people that want to get in that meditative state in different ways. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be the same every week. So.
Yeah, the one church has a Wednesday, music, metaphysics, and meditation. Wednesdays. Okay, and there's another one that has a midweek program that has a meditation and a little message, but they have a dinner. You know, have food, meditation, and midweek. So, midweek services. I should have put classes and workshops. That's a midweek thing.
One big drawing aspect, I think maybe it's a principle, I don't know, is the 4T's exemplified for me anyway, of being positive. And I think that in itself really draws people any way that you could. I don't know. Okay. Any way you could start relearning and become more positive as a human being. Offering that as a class or a workshop, I think we would draw a lot of people because it's so needed more and more now.
Yes, our prosperity teachings are very important. They're very needed. Unfortunately, a lot of the prosperity programs were created to enrich the program director creator. Okay? They have a very fundamentalist approach toward tithing. They said you must tithe and you have to give it here because a percentage of that goes to me. Okay, so I have a problem with some of the traditional prosperity teachings, but
okay, a lot of people don't know what the 4T program was. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
tithe, talent, and treasure. Tithing of your time, talent, and treasure. It's a prosperity program, and there are several different prosperity programs out there that are similar, and Charles Fillmore wrote the book Prosperity during the Great Depression. And so there are certain principles of abundant life that have been hijacked to feed the ego. Okay? So, you know, the principle of our thoughts are creative. The thoughts we hold in our mind are creative, have power. And if that's the whole focus, it's magic. If you don't include the spiritual, it's practicing magic
So is it
rather
kind of
than
like
being spiritual.
law of attraction, that type of thing?
Well, the law of attraction, yeah, it's the power of thought. Yeah. And how you use it is what's important. And so is the ego using it, or are you using it in cooperation with the Christ within?
I'm just curious, I noticed on the survey that I did try to take twice.
Hold the
it's my
mic
own
up,
feel-
please.
Oh, in the survey, I noticed there was a lot of questions regarding like when was a convenient time for you to come to extra classes and that kind of thing. Like, so I'm curious from the results of the survey if you know, like, because it seemed like other times when we've had questionnaires at church about that type of thing, seemed like most people who went here leaned towards Sunday. Like, I mean, for the people who are already here,
Yes.
seemed like they leaned towards Sunday afternoon or whatever. But I'm curious if the survey revealed something different. That's my question.
The survey just closed, and the results are being calculated and tabulated, and they'll be available to the board and Reverend Nat, and then we'll bring it to the congregation. So the answer is no, we don't know yet.
Okay, thank you. It makes sense to have something other than the 1 hour worship service on Sunday. Okay? People are more likely to come if they can get something to eat, if they can sit in a group and discuss, if they can sit in a group and meditate, learn some things. And so you want to, that's where you start building the program. So you enhance it, you make the Sunday mornings as good as they can be to attract people that way. Okay? And then you could use the same model on Wednesdays, on a midweek service, and have more than one thing rather than just a class. You have a meditation, you have some snacks, you have intentional community building by having small group discussions. So if, like in a class, you have a 90-minute lecture, it's deadly. Okay, unless, you know, I mean, you often, you know, what you want to facilitate is discussions. So,
I do know that there's a fairly large and healthy drumming circle in town. And Tana and I have tried to go a couple times, and we just missed it, like we got the wrong information. But I think they're meeting in a really small, up on the bypass, you know, up north of town. I think they're meeting in a really small spa. And Ann Smith is part of that group, so I think we could talk to Ann Smith about moving them here.
do you know of any chanters, kirtan groups?
I do not.
Anybody go to a yoga studio that has chanting, kirtan? I can contact the yoga teachers.
We had it here before. Sakshi did it here this winter.
Who did?
Sakshi, he is a former member who lives in Hawaii now.
Shakti?
He came back. Sakshi is a person, that was their name.
Oh, right.
Sakshi, he came and did kirtan here. I don't know, but he does still have a lot of connections here. He had other people from Bloomington with him when he did kirtan here.
Mm-hmm.
And I am friends with him, so
Yeah.
I mean, I would find out more, you know, kirtan connections.
Good, good, thank you.
So I just feel compelled to just add really quickly. We're not just trying to grow our numbers, just to be growing our numbers. I really believe that we have something the world needs now in our tools, And our belief system is very healing. And when people find it, it feels so good. And to have a place with so many like-minded people who believe like we do, we could just vibrate. And so,
Yeah.
so we have a very attractive message already. We just have to figure out how to organize ourselves to be that together, right?
You know, the 80-20 rule, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and or contribute 80% of the money. The 80% of Unity of Bloomington, sometimes I forget where I am. I've been so many places. The 80% are gone. What's left here are the committed 20%. So if you have a committed 30 people here, if that's 20, what's that 20% of?
That's 20% of 150.
Okay, so that's a community of 150 with 30 committed people. So there's a tremendous amount of potential here. You have equipment, you have all of the physical resources to really grow, to be a vibrant community. Okay? And so we'll do some tweaking and we'll create some clarity. I had a meeting today with Unity Worldwide's transitional ministry team, and the Unity Church in Madison, Wisconsin, it's twice as big as this. They're offering a salary of $60,000 a year. It's a progressive university town. They've had one applicant in the last 9 months. They've been open. So I hate to breathe the bearer of bad news, but
Why is that? There just aren't Unity ministers?
people want to go to warm places. Most Unity churches are on the coasts in Florida, Texas, California. Okay? Unity churches in Minnesota are always looking for ministers, and in upstate New York and Michigan. So, but it's going to change because as climate change drives people away from the coast, they'll go to the refugee, climate refugees will come here. Yeah.
People who got an earthquake.
Well, you don't have wildfires, volcanoes, hurricanes, or or maybe tornado once in a while. So, would anyone like to share an inspirational story on Sunday? I guess I'll just have to tell my own. Okay. What's your favorite song in a Sunday service?
Last
Hmm?
you mean? Or just
Well, you said music's important to you. Okay, it's inspiring. Well, can you think of any songs that are in the Sunday service that you really like, that are inspiring?
I like Hallelujah that we did last week.
The Leonard, both.
Terry and Melanie are Unity music. They're groupies. They're Unity music groupies.
I'm a Unity music groupie, yes. We go to Posse's all the time. We go to Posse's all the time. We learn a lot of new Unity music. And I have loved so many music. One of my favorite ones we've probably done here is one we have not done for a long time, which is David Alt's I'm Here to Remind You. it's just one of my favorites. I'm here to remind you.
That was in our wedding.
Oh, I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, and I think it's a beautiful song. And there's so many. Daniel Nahmont's got some wonderful, wonderful songs.
I'm here to remind you. Is that the? Okay.
Your magnificence.
What is it?
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence.
Ah. I don't know that one.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence.
Okay. All right. I'll
I've been happy to get.
I'll make a note of that. Any other musical suggestions that bring tears to your eyes, that make you shiver or something? Yes.
I like that one, that, the only part I know you have to help me, it goes, in this time, in this place. It was written like there was a Unity conference, the person who wrote the song came here before, and she sang it. We sing it all the time.
For meditation, Ken Sharp, Meredith.
Yeah. Help me, what's the song? It's about like a bunch of people.
Into meditation.
Well, no, it's also about like they were having like all these like, she said it a different way, but warring factions trying to make decisions about certain things at Unity. And beforehand, it just came to her, she wrote this song. And that's.
Good. We can use it in choosing carpet color for the renovation.
The only part I remember in this time.
It's not in the hymnal. I don't know that song. I know it's not in the hymnal. Yeah.
Well, Kim's not, I guess I could try to contact.
You have a song?
We sing it. Phyllis would know it.
Yeah.
One time I did Souls and Ken Sharp.
I did a duet when two people sing it.
Yeah.
Did a duet with somebody, I'm trying to think of her name. We sang Blackbird.
Oh, that was.
You sang?
Blackbird.
Ah.
George Harrison.
Yeah.
The Beatles is
Yes.
such a beautiful song.
So you're a singer too?
I like to sing.
Yeah.
I have a simple one. Gratitude. I love that song. Gratitude is lovely.
Karen Drucker.
Seb.
I am complete. Okay.
That's the name of the song, I Am Complete?
That's a Ginger Curry and Reverend Boyd.
Uh-huh.
When she was here.
I misplaced my pen, so... Huh?
On the floor, behind the other chair.
Ah. Okay. So, in this time, place, gratitude, what other ones were mentioned?
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence in this time.
Ah. The Leonard Cohen Hallelujah or the Hallelujah after the, okay, yeah, okay, they're both good.
How about that,
Kyrie eleison, yeah. One with the heart. Heart of the Mother, yeah. We're doing one of his songs on Sunday. I am as God created me. Yeah, so.
And I personally love ending with like I just think it's beautiful. It's one of the most striking things.
Okay. Oh, I know what I want to ask. Thank you. Let there be peace on earth. So, okay, the last 2 weeks, we had the Lord's Prayer sung in the Sunday service. How many people is that? How many people is that important to anybody here?
It's very important to listen to Dan.
Well,
It was fantastic.
well, yeah. But the first time I went to a Unity church and they sang it, it really, really touched me. So, is there, you have trouble with the word church, okay? The branding program within Unity, their focus groups have trouble with God, Jesus, church, Lord, traditional religious language. And so you're a spiritual center, you're not a church. Okay? So, okay?
I love the Lord's Prayer. And I love songs like that, traditional songs. However, I do see that could be triggering to some people. Like if we sang Ave Maria every week or something, I do think that it can remind people of something that may have been unsettling from years ago or something. But I do think that every once in a while, yeah, it's nice to hear the Lord's Prayer sung.
Yeah, thank you. Jonna?
You can't avoid triggering some people some of the time.
Yep.
People have stuff. We have stuff.
And that's part of Unity's
Just meant
mission.
if
Part
you're
of wait a minute. Part of Unity's mission was, well, a main part is to reframe traditional Christianity so that you can make sense of it rather than dismissing the whole thing. And so, if you allow yourself to be triggered by Satan or whatever, some of those traditional ideas, and you can kind of work through it and be richer in the outcome. Yes.
I just was trying to make a point that you can't avoid triggering people, but if you're going to incorporate something like that that's very traditional and sing it every week, like you do Let There Be Peace, that's probably not going to trigger anybody.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't think it's a good idea to use those very traditional songs
Yeah.
every week and sing it every week. That's what I meant.
I was in one church where they wanted me to give them a Jesus warning if I was going to mention him.
Sin used to be a word that triggered me, but since I've been here, I don't know if I looked it up or someone said it, but missing the mark. So whenever I hear the word sin, I don't think of it as being bad, going to hell, all that stuff associated with it. You just missed the mark. Try it again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it means.
Okay, we could do this for a long time, okay? But we need to wrap it up. Okay, going to do this again next week. Next week, I want to bring up some topics, discuss some topics that are in the organization of the church, because we have to revise the bylaws, and there are a number of things in your bylaws that can be changed. There's one thing in there for sure that must be changed if Unity Worldwide is willing to post your opening for a minister. So things about membership and voting and stuff like that, it's kind of, it's not as dull as it sounds. Okay? Yeah. Okay, and okay, so keep it like this for Sunday. Okay, just to shake people up a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna push these out a little bit. Okay, I don't know, maybe there are enough chairs now to handle what's been, more than enough to handle what's been coming on Sunday. So, Well, thank you for coming tonight. This has been very helpful for me. I'm going to go write down some stuff before I forget it. Okay, but it's been very clear, very helpful. It's going to be helpful for me going forward in planning Sunday services and all, and helpful for your new minister when he, she, or they arrive. Okay, I'm done. All right. Yeah. Thank you.